It is a bright and sunny day in Toontown, but that isn't what counts. Because even though it is a warming spring day, it does not match some of the moods of those within Toontown. And while Toontown is famous for toons who at times wear their emotions on their sleeves and reflect in the environment around them, that is not the case with one Bon Arlo as they slowly walk along the street. A small cafe that they had once taken someone very close to them to on a whim. Um, On moves as though they are tired, and Bon moves stiffly, a sort of stiffness that anyone who knew Bon would not have normally seen of them. As they come up to this cafe and they sit down in one of the outdoor seats, slowly shuffling to accommodate for their wings, and they pick up the menu a moment. They look it over. And then a look of pain and disgust and a shadow seems to pass over them as they turn the menu over and place it face down. So Bond doesn't have to look at it. Um, they pull out one of the kid menus for a moment and look at the blank paper, and they look at the crayons left to Tane, whoever had decided to sit and draw with crayons. And they put the menu back and they fold their hands in front of them and they rub their face a moment and close their eyes and seem to sag. And they are waiting.
They don't have to wait long because they are here to meet somebody. And though they haven't met this somebody before, they may have heard that investigator Vani Nikta Afan has a reputation for being quite punctual. And sure enough, at the on the dot time they were supposed to meet, a tall, real kind tiefling with dark blue skin and wings like a dragon walks up to the table and smiles and says, Mix Arlo, I presume.
Bond slowly opens their eyes and looks up at this tiefling, and they say nothing a moment. And then Vanguard, I presume.
Most people call me Vani, but if you would prefer Vanguard, I see no reason not to go by the moniker. Yes. Do you mind if I take a seat?
Bond wordlessly waves to the seat across from them.
And the investigator sits down and reaches into a bag at their side and pulls out a notebook. And they look at Bon carefully for a moment, seemingly considering their next words. So, Harley says you need my help looking for someone?
Yes, yes, I need your help. And Harley, they promised to send the best, so I sure hope you're the best.
Best the library can offer. Why don't you tell me what you know?
And Bond straightens up, and their feathers all shift and then forcibly smooth down as they twine their claws together a little tighter and close their eyes again. His name is Marcel. Um, he is a Ghibellian Toon who he's a Ghibellian Toon who works in the studio beside me and the others I'm associated with. No known last name, besides just the letter A. He he was running from something. I don't know if it caught up to him, but he's been in contact, had brushes with Kyle.
That is never a good sign. Okay. Last known location?
According to our according to Gil Treble, he was leaving their apartment to go to one of the nearby grocery stores and never made it there nor back.
And they nod and take a couple notes in their journal and look it over and sigh and then tap the pages. All right. I'm putting in a formal request for any active librarians to get me any information available on Kyle Bedlam's last known location and exploits. Level of emergency rather high, guys. Can you please hurry it up? And they close the book for a moment. There's a sort of flash from within the pages, and they open it back up. And as they're reading over some of the writing that is scrolling itself over the page, they continue to ask questions. So, right, last known location was heading towards a grocery store. You said nearest to where he lived. Do you know where that might be? That might be a good place to start looking for clues.
Yeah. And yeah, I can write it down for you. And Bon reaches over to the crayons they had discarded earlier and the kids menu, and they slowly pull out a blue crayon and they write down Marcel's address without even pausing. They know it by heart, and they slowly turn the paper around and slide it over so Vonnie can see.
Thank you. And they pick it up, read it over for a second, then flip to a different section of their book, slipping the address in between the pages. And there's another flash in a different color. The first was something like gold, this one's more like blue. And they open to a map which now has the location, the address, addresses, marked with a little blue eye. Alright, I can go there after we're done here. How are you holding up?
Do you want to roll insight, Vonnie? With advantage.
Oh boy. Vonnie, what is your insight? That's a +5, okay. I don't think I need advantage. That's a nat 20.
Yeah. Okay, I'll paint you a little word picture with a nat 20. Vonnie, as On had handed you the paper and slowly pulled back with the crayon in their hands, hands are trembling, and there are, whenever a bird is stressed and they will begin to over-preen.
Mm-hmm.
Bon looks as though they have over-preened just enough to be exceedingly noticeable to someone who knows how to look at it. They look tired, Bonnie. They look so tired. Like they could fall asleep any minute and not wake up for 100 years. Their wings are bedraggled. Um, you may have heard of Bond's reputation, a very tack-turn, no-nonsense healer who always is reliable. You call on them and they will be there. On doesn't look that part at all. They look like someone who's had a hole punched through their chest and their heart ripped out with it, and they aren't quite sure how to fix the damage. And you ask them how they're holding up. And for a second, one looks like they're going to laugh. And they do laugh a moment. Just this awful seesawing noise that turns into a sort of hissing sound, like a steaming tea kettle, before they suck in a gasp of air and they look at you and they say, I am not going to lie to you, Vanguard. Why don't we just pass on that question for now? Because I don't think either of us really needs me to tell you the answer.
No, I don't think we do. And they frown for a second, and they tap the side of their pen against their hand, sort of flipping it between their fingers for a second. Then they give you a very calm look and say, "We are going to be able to find him. There hasn't been a person yet that the library hasn't found, even if our... Have you tried scrying magic yet? Have you tried any sort of divination?"
Vani, I asked a god of death where my son was, and they told me they didn't know.
Okay, that actually is helpful. And Vani kind of gets a more focused look in their eyes and flips back the book back open to the map and starts circling locations and crossing a few out. The last few known locations that Bedlam has hit have been varying locations with high populations of toons, usually ending in quite a lot of carnage, but he's been quiet for the last few months. So, if you say that you spoke to who I can only presume is your deity, and they weren't able to find your son, this Marcel, then that means he's somewhere that divination can't touch, and divination on that level, that is something that is very hard to hide. So,
You would need the influence of another god. I know that much.
Which does track with what we found at the last location. And they're just quietly nodding and crossing off a few more of their circles in their map.
From Bonnie, from what I've gathered from talking to some of his other family, this Marcel has interacted with Kyle multiple times, and if Bill is involved, if any of the enemies Marcel has apparently made are involved, I don't think I'm because we both know Kyle's MO. I don't want him or Zivri getting their hands on Marcel, because Marcel is exceedingly gifted in magic, and we both know how they like to play with their toys.
And Vonnie nods and looks a bit disconcerted, but very much in the way that, yeah, they know exactly what you're talking about. And they consider things for a moment, flip back to the current case section of their notebook, and look at you. Would you like to know what we know so far?
Just give me a second. I've spent the last week just trying to keep my head screwed on, because that kid's got a big family, and some of them aren't worried at all, and some of them are losing their minds, and I've been lying to them about things, and there's always the burden of knowledge, Vonnie. We all know too much. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me what you know.
And they give a understanding nod. They give you your needed minute to breathe before they start pulling folded documents out of the current case file section of their clipping book and set them on the table and say, "It's unlikely that your Marcel is going to be sold, so that is good because, well, one thing, not being sold is always good, and another thing, it means that he's not going to change location. The bad thing is, well, with what we have seen from Bedlam lately, we think he's preparing some kind of ritual. We don't know what kind yet, but we do know that it has required a lot of living sacrifice, and it might require another. We haven't been able to track him down completely. We always seem to arrive a few minutes too late. But what we have so far is that he's been gathering components line work and color were the first. Then there were a collection of gemstones from these locations, which are known to be potent carriers of divine magic. We aren't sure, but we think he might be attempting to prepare some sort of ascension ritual. If he has taken your Marcel, then this is a high emergency case, and we need to find a way to find him and stop whatever is being planned, because there is slim to none chance that anyone is making it out of that alive except for Bedlam.
As you started detailing this information, Bon started to slowly scratch their talons against the tabletop. And as you continue, they scratch and scratch and scratch furrows into the tabletop until they have just a pile of plastic under their nails. And deep furrows have been cut into the table. Do me a favor, Bonnie.
Of course.
As far as I know, this bastard's associated with some sort of make-play god called Retrospect who can rip people out of reality. If this is what this 2-bit piece of nightmare garbage wants, okay, if that is how he wants to play. Okay. What do you need me to do, Vani?
And she looks you over and then looks back at the book and opens it back up to the communications section, looks over a few messages that have come in and nods and is like, all right, well, first thing, get some sleep. You are not going to be able to go into this. No offense, you look exhausted, and I don't think that going into this in that state is any way to go about it safely, given that this is somebody who makes rather extensive use of violent sleep spells. Anything you have going against you is something you need to get rid of. That said, you're also going to want to try and find a way to set up some kind of immediate transportation to, let's see, the most recent location according to our trackers is Hangman's Point. Apparently he has moved since then, but it is into whatever dark zone he has created that your deity can't see. So you're going to want to set up some kind of link to his base. If you could get one of his business cards, that would work best. Those have a teleportation feature built into them.
I'll ask some of the others. Marcel has tangled with him before. I'm sure one of the kids probably stole something. They all have sticky fingers.
A useful trait to have, if Zeke is to be believed. Alright, well, you're going to need to get your hands on something like that. You're going to want to prepare for a fight. If you plan on going up against him, you're going to want to prepare in whatever ways you are able. I would suggest preparing more combat based spells than usual. I don't know how many you usually stock your stores with, but I would suggest
I'm
having a good handful that you can deal damage with.
yeah. The healer has the bloodiest hands and all that, Jess.
Hmm. And they flip to a different section of the book, which seems to have many sections, and they use their pen and scribble down something that, from where you're sitting, looks like it might be a call number from a library. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they snap the book shut, and this time the flash comes from the bag hanging from their shoulder. And they pull out a book and hand it to you and say, "This is one of the best guides we have to how to break and disrupt rituals. If you can do that, you may not even need to damage Bedlam head on. Um, Usually, a big ritual like this, the minute it is disrupted sufficiently, the caster, well, let's just say it never ends well for them, especially if he's done what we think he's done. I wish we could offer you backup, but we have been
No.
spread thin lately as it is."
Oh, you're okay. You're okay. Bond slowly takes the book, and they've been scrubbing at their face this whole time, and their wings are kind of curled around them. And they take the book and they sort of hold it to their chest. Yeah. You guys have done plenty enough. I know we have. We have plenty of people who would be more than happy to tear him to pieces and make your guys' lives a lot easier.
Well, I can't say it would go unappreciated. We've got our hands full with, well, with Cardia, of course. We haven't been able to focus as much on Bedlam, which has led to a bit of a mad scramble these past few months as he's started putting things into place.
Yeah. Bond sort of sniffs and scrubs their face a little more determinedly. Speaking of that asshole Cardia, I I recently met someone who has had a dose of Cardia's special brew, and I've been looking into it. It's one of his usual pieces of work. You ever have seen a toon grow a nervous system?
Oh dear. Oh no, I think I might know what you might be working with. Oh dear.
Yeah, the kid's doing okay, but it's been a very long time. Very, very long. um, you or any of your buddies needs any help with cardia, just let me know. Preferably after I get my kid back.
You focus on that for now.
I can send you guys everything I've been noting with Bonlock. Because I've been taking care of him more or less as he's recovered. Uh, oh, I don't get how you people can do this shit. Just, oh.
Mystery and misery. Save the world every week, twice before Friday. That's the job motto.
I'm just a pair of hands who knows how to fix things at this point. One of these days I get to go home, though. One of these days. Today, though. Not today. Alright. I don't know, Bonnie. What's your professional opinion on this?
My opinion, as a librarian of 15 years, is that it doesn't look great, but I do think that there is. If you have as much going for you as you say, if you have people who have enough of a grudge against Bedlam, if you have the right kind of hands to bring on to take apart whatever he's been putting together, then you have a chance, but you'll need to be careful. But then that's every case.
Yeah, we'll have to. I don't envy the idea of springing any of this bastard's traps, but when we get there, we might take the place apart. So I'll pick through everything before they probably set the place on fire.
Actually, that might be helpful. And they pick up their notebook and flip to a different page in the case file section and say, if our studies are correct, Bedlam is a half Mara, which is pretty common knowledge, but he's been becoming something a bit more monstrous lately, which means that the weakness to fire and light would be amplified. So if you've got a handful of arsonists in your corner, you might want to bring them along.
Yeah, we got some arsonists. I work for an arsonist, man. Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, please make sure that you're going into it well rested. You are going to need your best eyes on this.
On pauses. And they look down at the book they're cradling to their chest, and then down to the tabletop, and slowly they meet your gaze. And I'm not even going to make you roll insight. It's a very old and tired looking gaze. And on a nod, but they take a slow breath and they say, as long as I keep getting the same answer every time I ask, I'm going to be able to sleep. Trust me on that, Bonnie. But I don't know. I'm going to go into this as best as I can. which is going to be pretty damn good considering the situations I've been dumped into. Right now, considering who all else is looking for Marcel, I might have to make some judgment calls. It'll work out, I'm sure. But, oh, it's funny. I went and, I made one of the biggest mistakes someone in our business can make, and I got people I care about now, which, oh God, I care about them all too much. Chaos watch over us all because one day we're all going home, and oh boy, gonna have a lot of angry people talking to me.
And she kind of smiles and says, well, caring too much comes with its downfalls, but I do find that too much tends to be just enough to give you the fight you need to keep going. And if people are going to be angry at you anyway, might as well give them something to yell at you about.
You got me there. You can be a real stupid bird. Let me give you, let me Harley was doing well when you spoke to them. Been checking on them, but not as much as I should.
They're doing all right. Things have been getting a bit dicier with the family lately over the whole art trade business, but they're doing all right last I checked.
Art trade. Yeah. I'll be sure to drop in and make sure anything meant to go your guys' way gets passed quickly.
Greatly appreciated.
It's the least I can do.
They mentioned to send their best wishes to you.
Yeah, we'll have to paint us a scene sometime soon. I would offer to buy you lunch, but frankly, I'm a little sick to my stomach.
Don't worry, I don't eat much anyway. And they wave a hand loosely. And then the pages of their book, which is sitting closed in front of them, glow a very bright green. And the book flips itself open. And they blink and pick up a letter. And as they pick it up, you see your name on the back. And they flip it over. Message for you from Charlotte. And they hand it to you.
Bond takes it slowly and they look it over. I'm gonna have them roll history just so we have a couple of rolls to see if Bond remembers Charlotte. Right, that's a +5.
Dice, please don't bully audio.
Yeah, that's an 18.
Yeah, 18's high enough to remember Charlotte. Charlotte is... well, you don't know much about her, but that's because no one knows much about her. She's some kind of oracle. lives in the library, helps manage the clippings book. She's one of the ones who sends everyone out on their way among the library. She doesn't talk to people directly very often, so this is something of a surprise.
Bon Bon sort of grins at the sight of their name on this letter, and they're like, hey, make a bet with me. Do you think this is about my untimely demise that is surely coming, or something menial?
She
I
doesn't.
know.
She doesn't tend to go for doom and gloom. As far as profits go, she's been one of the most positive that I've ever worked with.
That's good. And Bon, with a careful drawl of the talon, they cut the letter open and slowly pull out whatever contents are inside.
It's just a note card with a few lines on it. The first says, "Everything is going to turn out okay." The second says, "Watch out for yours at the end of the fight. Once the ritual is broken, there's going to be something to look out for." And the third says, "Kick his ass."
Charming. And Bon slips the note card back in, and they tuck it into their vest over their heart. Just the usual sort of don't get your ass kicked at the end of the boss fight sort of pep talk.
Loading screen messages?
Nothing is real, everything is fiction, all that fun. Must be important, though, if we're getting cheered on by our favorite future seer.
Hopefully. If you guys are successful, that means that's one half of one of the bigger problems taken down.
Yeah. Next time you guys get anything Zivri's working on, again, I've been I've been having to pick up on things I never thought I'd see ever. I might be able to help you guys out if you got something to spare.
We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, it's nasty flowers.
Awful things. Useful, but the way he uses them.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, they stink something awful.
No kidding.
So, I'm supposed to, on the orders of my confidant within the librarians, I am supposed to get rest, pack plenty of ass-kicking juice, and absolutely do not let my guard down and burn this bastard to dust.
That's just about the size of it. If you can think of anything that we can do to help, just let me know. Here. And they pull a piece of paper from the book, scribble down their phone number on it, and pass it to you. If you think of any more information that you could use, that'll put you in contact with the communications section of my clippings book.
Mm-hmm. And you already know how to get in contact with my people, not just Harley. Um, do me a favor. Depending on how things go and all that. If Harley does mention anything about their health in the meantime between now and us potentially getting flayed alive by Bedlam, just um, reach out to my people because I don't know, they're getting on. We always joked about them outliving me, but I don't know. I may end up deciding to deciding to spend time around that damnable family some more because my job, my place here isn't. I really need someone who isn't like those piranhas to keep an eye on them.
I'm inclined to agree. We'll keep an eye out for him.
Mm-hmm. And Vaughn puts the book in their own bag that they brought. It slips in next to a somewhat slim book. You don't really get to see what that book is, but they are companions in Bond's bag now. And they slowly, somewhat shakily stand and they reach across the table and offer you one of their taloned hands to shake.
And Vani shakes their hand and gives them a wry smile. Come back alive.
Oh, old of you to assume I would ever do anything stupid in my life. uh, in the meantime, I'm going to head back to my office and shut out the world and probably have a good cry. I'm not going to lie because I have kids at home I don't want to cry in front of and friends at work that don't really need to see me a mess. So I'm going to find a nice dark corner to hide in, because I don't know. We've helped plenty of people who've gone through this, but it doesn't prepare you for going through it yourself. And I'm not going to lie, if I get a chance to whip my claws into that bastard, I'm going to rip him a new one for all the people that we've had to help that he's hurt.
Well, we're right there with you in spirit.
And Bonnie, if you don't have anything else, Bon is getting ready to leave. They look like they're going to. They look sort of like how they did when they arrived, still, honestly, just tired and slow and stiff, but they slowly sort of reach into their pocket and they're holding something in their pocket and they look ready to go, so.
Yeah, Vani doesn't really have anything left to say, so
Mm-hmm.
they also stand up, they give you a nod, and then I assume you both go your separate ways.
Mm-hmm. Bon, Bon walks back to the studio. Their wings sort of drag uncaringly along the streets. And They walk through the door and, they don't talk to anyone. They don't wave to anyone. They don't look at anyone. They just walk the path to their office that they've walked for almost a decade now, unseeingly. And for the first time in a long time, Bon shuts their door. They lock the door. They even put a chair in front of the door, and they look at the vent that they have long since given up, keeping affixed to the wall. And they slowly walk over to their desk, and they pull out a screwdriver, and they reaffix the vent to the wall, and they tighten the screws tight. And then they flick their lights off, and they sit at their desk, and they pull out the book you gave them. And then they just sort of sit there for a while. And I guess if there is nothing else, we will probably end the FPS with the just slow Bond silhouette in the dark fading into black until it is just black. And that is the end of the Bard's play, I suppose. Whirl?
Yeah, that's the end. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. And not apologies, for ripping your heart out, I have no doubt. And we will end the recording here.
See you all Sunday. Bye bye.